Meanwhile, Sunjin walked into the doctor's office and took a seat, quietly observing the midwife as she reviewed the medical file in front of her. After a moment, she raised her head and looked at him. With worry evident in his voice and eyes, Sunjin asked if everything was okay with his wife. The midwife, still keeping her gaze on him, explained that Minsu was a first-time mother, and her labor was likely to take longer than expected. Sunjin listened intently. He had seen Minsu earlier and witnessed how much pain she was in. It was unbearable for him to see her suffering like that. Deeply concerned, he asked when the pain would end. The midwife informed him that they couldn't determine exactly when labor would be over. She assured him they would continue to assess the situation closely. From their current evaluation, they had observed that the baby was quite large and not well positioned, which could complicate the delivery. There was a possibility that they might need to intervene using either forceps or a cesarean section. Hearing this, Sunjin sat frozen. He had hoped and expected everything would go smoothly. The thought that things were becoming so complicated had never crossed his mind. The midwife, noticing how distressed he was, offered reassurance. She told him they would do everything they could, and if things progressed well, they might not need to resort to a C-section or other interventions. Sunjin nodded, gathering his composure, and expressed his trust in them, stating that he believed they would do everything in their power to ensure a safe delivery for his wife. He stood up to leave, but paused at the door. Turning back, he asked the midwife if he could pose one more question. With a gentle smile, she gave him the go-ahead. He asked her how painful labor truly was. The midwife looked at him, recognizing the depth of his concern, and admitted that it was hard to explain, but that the pain was intense and excruciating. Almost on the verge of tears, Sunjin struggled with the thought of what Minsu was enduring. He asked if there was anything that could be done to ease her pain. The midwife explained that they would try to administer pain relief, but not in excess, as too much medication could negatively affect the baby. Standing up, she walked over to him and gently reassured him not to worry. She explained that what Minsu was going through was normal, especially for a first-time mother. She added that if Minsu were to have a second child, the process would likely be much smoother. But Sunjin, clearly overwhelmed by what he was witnessing, quickly dismissed that idea. After seeing how much his wife was suffering, he couldn't bear the thought of putting her through it again. With that, he walked out. Outside, Yuna sat on a bench with her mother and Minsu's mother, waiting anxiously for updates. Her phone rang, and she stepped aside to answer it. It was her stylist, who asked if she was available the next day. Yuna responded affirmatively and mentioned that she wanted to dye her hair pink. The stylist, surprised, asked what prompted the sudden change. Yuna smiled and said it was for someone special. After the stylist confirmed her availability, Yuna said she would come in the following morning. As she hung up the call, she noticed Sunjin walking toward their mothers. Curious and eager to hear any updates, she rushed to join them. They all stood together, eyes fixed on Sunjin, waiting for news about Minsu's condition. Minsu's mother stepped forward and asked about her daughter's situation and whether everything was going well. Sunjin calmly relayed what the midwife had told him, assuring them that they needed to remain strong. He expressed optimism that Minsu would soon give birth and reminded them that this prolonged labor was common among first-time mothers. Minsu's mother, visibly relieved, said it was comforting to hear that. Sunjin then suggested that they go home to rest and freshen up, acknowledging how exhausting the long wait must have been. His own mother approached him, took his hand, and gently told him he also needed to go home and take a break, as he looked extremely tired. But Sunjin refused. He insisted that he needed to stay by Minsu's side, believing that his presence might ease her pain. His mother tried to persuade him, but he stood firm. He was not going to leave his wife during such a critical moment. With quiet determination, he turned and walked away, his heart heavy but resolute in his decision to remain by Minsu's side through it all.